Hello traders. So I'm getting a lot of questions on fractals and how to use them. Now, I thought I'd do a video on fractals and just show you how I use them, but also just help you identify them if you don't have a charting package that identifies them for you. Now, I have a charting package which allows me to see fractals. You can see these arrows here, and I think let me just make them a little bit more prominent, and then you'll see that those are fractals. So every single one of these arrows here is a fractal. So I've highlighted it here in this black block, and this is a fractal to the downside. But basically all it is, it's a combination of 5 bars with a low, then a higher low to the left, higher low to the right. So that's downward fractal. If I look at a fractal to the top, and there's one right next to it, okay, let's just that. Okay, I have a high, a lower low, lower low, lower low, lower low. Okay, now you can see these lows are ever so slightly low. Doesn't matter, it is still a low. So long as the next bar is a low. Okay, you can see at the left, high, lower high, lower high. Okay, and if you look here, you can see there's a high, lower high, lower high, lower high. There's not a second bar here, so that's not a fractal. Okay, so this is kind of the area. If you look here, 2 fractals here. Now I'm on the 12-minute chart at the moment. Fractals work pretty much on any time frame, and I'm also looking at the Dax at the moment. So what I want to do is I just want to put a line in so I know where we are, and go to the hour. Now if you look at the hour, you'll notice that there are no fractals on the hour. Now, as per any of the trading environments, your higher time frames eliminate the noise and give you a better direction. So fractals on a higher time frame are very, very important. If I go to the 4-hour, you'll see in this trend there are no fractals. The fractals to the left here, but there's nothing in this downward trend. Okay, so again you can see there's a fractal, it's a low, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low. There's a fractal, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low. There's a fractal to the top. We've got a high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. Okay, now that's a general rule of thumb, but it does get quite complex. And I mean, if you search through Google, you'll see that there are many different variations of fractals. So, for example, you could have a double top. I'm trying to find. Well, here's a double bottom fractal. See, they're exactly the same. Okay, but then we've got a high. Okay, that's a low, but then the next one's a high, and this is also. So the next one's high. So there are multiple different combinations, but I think rather than getting it complex and trying to figure out, is it like, for example, this one here, you can see that one, it's almost like, looks like a straight line, but it does eventually fall off here, and it does eventually fall off here. So it's more than 5 bars that form that fractal. So what I'm saying is, rather than worry about these complex fractals, which if aren't anything, rather look for confirmed setups where you have a 5-bar pattern where you can clearly see what the fractal is. Okay, so I'm just going to just highlight so we can see. So you see this fractal here, 2 bars to the left, 2 bars to the right. This fractal here, not that clear. I've got 2 to the left, I've got 1, but then I've got many bars to the left before this fractal plays out. So to me, that's not really something that I want to focus on. I want to look for fractals where it's low, higher low, higher low, low, higher low, higher low. So it's clear. Okay, so that's the first thing about fractals. The second thing about fractals is if I have a fractal, and I'm going to try and highlight this here. So we're going to go look at this fractal here on a lower time frame. If we can find it, there we go. Okay, so that 4-hour fractal, that line. So there is a fractal on a lower time frame. If I go to a 30 minutes, it is also a fractal. If I go to an hour, it's also a fractal. If I go to the 4-hour, it is also a fractal. Okay, so that level there is a fractal. Now, why I'm highlighting this is for the following reason. Every tail tells us a story. Every tail tells us something is going on. So this big tail here, something big went on. Over here, something went on, but it wasn't that important. Okay, so this is a breakout level that I often use. Now, if I start going back down through the time frames now, so you'll notice there's a fractal on the level. We've got another fractal which is flirting with it there. We've got quite a bit of interaction with that level here. So let's just go down to the hour and look to the left. Okay, so that was within the 4-hour. You can see it's a range. You can see how price used it as support, bounced off it. Okay, we gapped down. We didn't quite get back up to it. But I can scroll to the left and you'll see there's a lot of interaction with those two levels. Just let me just scroll. You can see now we're starting to see a lot more interaction with those levels. And you'll notice that there's a lot of fractals on those trend lines. Okay, so let's just get back to where we were and just go down to a 12-minute chart. And now you'll see their interaction with the fractals at those levels. Now, what does that mean to us? So remember my statement, every tail tells a story. Every tail that is a fractal tells a more intelligent story. So it is essentially telling you that there are buyers and sellers that are stepping in off that environment. Now, if you look at this area here, which is a very interesting environment, and you often don't see it, but when one bar is a fractal to the top and a fractal to the bottom, what it is telling you is that you have a range bar. Okay, so from a technical point of view on the candle, that is a range bar, but it is still a fractal. 2 lows to the left, 2 lows to the right, 2 highs, 2 highs. So it's a range bar, but it's also could be seen as what is commonly known as a diamond pattern. Okay, so this kind of stuff is, to me, is probably the most important setup on my charts, and that is fractals. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is just going to zoom out a little bit. I want to clear that out. And now what I want to do is show you one of the ways that I trade fractals. So a fractal, the first thing that I do if I'm trading, now we're going to have to pretend that to the right here there's nothing happening, and the age-old saying, it's so easy to look at this now after the facts. Look at it over here. But let me show you around here, and then you can actually tune into my daily videos and you'll see how my levels are always off a fractal, and I'm always giving you the trade levels based on the fractal breaks. So let's just look at the logic behind this. So starting, this dotted line down the middle here is the start of a new day. Okay, so we're on the 12-minute. This is the start of a new day. And I think let's just go to the 30 minutes. It's going to be a little bit clearer. So the day starts off and we get this fractal. So immediately I know that there were buyers that were stepping in here. It's formed a fractal. So they're attempting to reverse this to the upside. But they've also formed a fractal. They wouldn't have formed this fractal yet. Okay, this long bar here wouldn't have been in this time of the day, but this fractal here would have been in. So I also know that I've got a break of these fractals from the previous day. if I just put a line there, you'll see that first line of the previous day, I've broken down below it, and I'm coming to test the break, and I fail, and I shoot below this fractal, and the trend continues for the day. Okay, so it's a series of continual lower lows. You look, and I just take the fractals into account. Lower low, lower low, lower low. Okay, it's a higher low there, but we are forming lower highs, no fractals. There's a fractal, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. Trend is still down. Then another lower low, lower low, lower high, lower low. So looking at this currently, okay, when we open up on Monday, because today is Saturday, those are the two fractal levels that I'd be looking at. So this previous swing high here, if we break above it, I would start anticipating a move to the upside. If we break below it, I would start anticipating a move to the downside. Okay, now remember what I said on different time frames, it means different things. So you can see here we've had a lot of consolidation in the last 2 weeks. So now because I'm on the 4 hour, these dotted lines represent a week. Okay, so you can see there's a lot of the range trading happening here, a lot of range trading there. But if we just head back in the past, you'll see on the 4 hour we start getting lower highs on the fractals, lower lows, and every time we break through a fractal level to the downside, the trend continues. When we start breaking the fractal levels to the upside, the trend changes to the upside. Okay, so the first thing is to identify the fractal, and you're looking for clear fractals. And I know if you're looking at my chart, you'll see there's areas where the fractal's not really that clear. I mean, right over there. Let's get rid of the dot. I mean, that's not clear because I've got a high, and then I've got a double high, and then I've got a low there, and then I've got lows this side. So it's not 100% clear. Now this one here is not 100% clear. So sometimes the charting pattern, the charting packages don't get the calculations correct. I mean, it's a human that's created the calculation. We're not perfect. But often what you find is the clear setups. And I'm just going to take the clear setup. The clear setup there, which is, you can clearly see there's two high highs to the right, two high highs to the left. That is a fractal. There is a potential trend change now. Now I look to the left and look for fractal breaks. And in this case, the fractal to the left is this one. Okay, I don't get there, but I eventually break through later on. Now the important thing about fractals is only the most recent one is the one you need to pay attention to. What do I mean by that? So let's just, I wonder if we can go back on, I want to use real live, well, potentially live information. Okay, so this is where we closed, right? So the two fractals that I need to pay attention to, as I said just now, are that one and that one. Okay, this fractal up here, this one up here, this one up here are irrelevant in the bigger scheme of things right now. The only fractals I'm interested in are the most recent ones. Now if I apply this logic, and I'm just going to delete those, and let's just use horizontal line. So I apply the logic here. Remember now I'm on the 1 hour, so in other words, every dotted line that you see running down here with my mouse is a day. So firstly, during this day, there was my fractal. Okay, pretty tough one to see, but to the left it's right, to the right it's a bit tough, but that is my fractal. You can see I broke through the fractal. Now the fractal represents a level. You see that? Okay, so I've broken through that level. I've come back to test it. I've failed to get above the previous fractal. So what am I creating? A high, lower high, lower high. It's a downward trend. So that is a short because I've broken through this fractal and my stop would be above the previous fractal. And you can see how we rallied to the downside. Now, through the day, I don't have another fractal yet. So often you hear people say, wait for the pullback before getting in the direction of the trend. So we know the trend is to the downside. Here is a fractal. No fractal's been formed. Down, up on the next day, and we form a fractal. So my stop gets moved down to this level. And now what I'm waiting for, because I formed a new fractal, this is not the fractal I'm waiting to break. I'm waiting to break the new fractal. And you can see we broke, we tested, and then we ran to the bottom. So now, coming into next week, what I'll be looking for is a break of either one of these fractals. Okay, so just to summarize, remember, a fractal is really just an indication that buyers or sellers are stepping in. They're either continuing a trend or they are looking to reverse a trend when you start breaking the fractals. And all that is that you're breaking through a level. That's all it's telling you. Okay, this entire game is about support and resistance and levels. So the fact that you've got fractals and we've got multiple different strategies as how to trade it, the reality of this game is we are looking for price to get above a level, stay above the level, and move upwards in a direction. Or we're looking for price to get below a level and trade to the downside, continually breaking new levels. Okay, so every single time frame you look at, whether it starts at the monthly or the weekly or the daily, you can see a trend is defined by creating an uptrend is defined by creating higher highs and higher lows. A downtrend is defined as creating lower lows and lower highs. And the only way to measure that is to take the fractals. You're looking over here, you can see, and now for those of you that are awake, you'll notice that there is a flat top triangle with a fractal break. Okay, we didn't really break through there, we didn't break through, but we broke through here, closed, back up, test the break. That's your short, and your short continues for quite some time. And you keep breaking through levels. Okay, so every tail tells a story. And if a tail is a fractal, it tells an even better story, and it's a more reliable story. Okay, so I hope that helps you understand what you're using the fractals for. And I think when you start using your candlestick patterns, and you'll start realizing that bringing fractals into it as well just helps you define those candlestick patterns. So this here is a double top. Okay, on the monthly, you can see there was a breakthrough fractal back to test this previous fractal break. Okay, there it is there. That's my short. How do you play a double top? You wait for the break, you wait for the retest. Retest, you get in for your short, your stop is up above the double top, and you trade to the downside. Okay, and if you look at engulfing patterns, so here is an engulfing pattern, you know that that is a potential reversal pattern once you have the fractal formed. Okay, so let's just look at some of the most common trading setups that I use, and I'll start at the top here. So this is a double moving average strategy. I'm just going to go to the 1 hour because just to keep things simple for us. So essentially what we're looking at here is a 9 and a 27 moving average. Okay, the reason it's 9 and 27 is just multiples of 3. I have a Williams percentage R indicator at the bottom, which is a 9, and then I have two stochastic, which again is a 9 and a 27. Okay, and what I'm looking for is when they group to the upside, the Williams percentage groups to the upside, and I have sort of a deviation between these two moving averages. I know we're nearing a top, and now what I'm looking for is a lower high. There's my lower high there. Okay, so there was my fractal to the upside, right? There's my fractal to the downside. You can see rallied up, didn't really work. I then broke this fractal, came back in the day to test that break. That's my confirmation that I have my moving averages come together, and now what I'm looking for is a break to the downside. There's the first fractal. We don't break through it, we form a new fractal, so you just adjust your levels to that, and then the following day we break through, retest, my moving averages have crossed over, and I move to the downside. Now, for as long as price stays to the left of my moving averages, and my moving averages are red above green. So in other words, the 9 is below the 27. This is a downtrend, and I'll keep adding to my position based on the breaks of the fractals. Okay, so as it stands now, technically I should have a stop above here. I should still be in on this trade, but being the weekend, I don't actually trade that. I don't keep my trades in over the weekend. But if we also look over here, you'll see that this Williams percentage R is starting to head back up to the top, which is telling me there's a sell. There are diversions here, which is a different discussion to have completely. And I'm anticipating that we'll form another fractal over here, which will allow me to move my stop area down to there. And then what I'm looking for is a break of that fractal. Okay, because we are still below the moving averages. Trend is still down. Okay, where fractals came from is from the Ball-Williams theory. So this is pretty much what I run through in my videos every single morning. So if you haven't subscribed, subscribe, and you can see it actually work in a live environment. Now, again, the same principles applying. So long as I am below these three moving averages, which is Williams alligator, the trend is down, and I am trading the fractal break to the downside. So all I'm looking to do is keep adding to my short position on these things. Okay, every time I create a fractal break to the upside, that becomes my new stop area, and then my stop area. Sometimes you can also, when you've created fractal, you can have some confidence that there's a move to the downside, but occasionally you get a situation where it could potentially be a double bottom or something like that. So you always want to wait for the break and the retest of the fractal. Okay. The other way that it is utilized, and there's quite a few people that utilize fractals with the ichimoku. Okay. So again, ichimoku says if you break through the cloud, and so long as you're below the Kijinsen and Tikinsen's this red line, sorry, Kijinsen's the red line, Tikinsen's the blue line. As long as price is below the cloud, this green and red cloud, you can see them there, price is in a downward trend, and you're looking for fractal breaks for breakouts. But what Ichimoku also does is takes all fractals into account. So it takes that fractal break into account. So we've broken through. The next bar did try break back up and retest. It failed and continued. I don't like using that. I prefer to use the immediate fractal to the left or to the right. Also to the left of price. Can't be to the right. Okay, so that's kind of how it works. If we go to the Wall Street, here's Dow Jones, you can see what's happened on the close here. This is on the 30-minute chart. We have had a break of this fractal. There's no other fractal close by. So that is a potential trend change because we are now broken above the alligator. You can see we've been trending down below the alligator, forming lower highs all the way down. Okay, so that downward trend, and remember what I said about tying up fractals? So let me just start with this. So there you can see there's the first fractal, there's my second fractal. So that's my trend line. Okay, look what happens here. Price breaks below, but we tend to use it as support back down. Okay, now if I just adjust that to there, okay, you see there's my fractal adjusted to this fractal. We flirted with it here, so there's a new fractal above it, so I should really adjust it again. But I just want to point out this bar. Look at this red bar here. Hit that area and attempted to turn. So now what I can do is adjust it to there. So the bigger trend here is still down, but we do have a potential trend reversal here because we have broken above the alligator. And you could have this on the moving averages as well. There we go. So here's my moving average strategy. I've had a crossover, which is bullish, and I've broken above that trend line. Okay, this 200 moving average is also a level that we play with, but I'm not going to discuss that now. So what I'd be looking for here is a retest of this fractal, and that would be, if that's successful, then we've got another entry long with anticipation of a trend change, and your stop area is below the previous fractal. Okay, now if I go to a higher time frame, you'll see I've got a higher time frame cross over the moving averages, which is bullish. My indicators are a little bit haywire, but nevertheless, the whole point of this is you're looking for break of the fractal. Now, obviously, you can get situations like this, where you're ranging and you're not really breaking the fractals to the top or the bottom, but you're creating a whole lot of new fractals within a range. And that is why it's critical to use a moving average strategy to indicate whether you're on the right side of the trend or not. Okay, because this here is definitely, there's chaos. You've got crossover. The moving averages are not pointing up like this or not pointing down like this. So in the Bull-Williams theory, that would be that the alligator's gone to sleep. And then it crosses over. Now the jaws widen open. So in other words, these three moving averages separate and they point down. Alligator's awake and hungry. And now you're looking for every fractal break as an indication that you need to be selling. Okay, and you'll notice that even though it comes all the way back up here, so what am I talking about? So there's my, sorry. So you know what area we're in here. We're in this area here, right? So there's my fractal break there. Okay, I form a new fractal to the upside. I'll use this red line. Okay, so my short is here because I'm below the moving averages. So my short entry is here. My stop is above here. But look what happens. I'm waiting for the next fractal to form. But I get spooked with this tail. A lot of people would have got out of this. Okay, but the reality is it's just testing another level, which is a different video. But because my stop's up here, I would have been safe. It would have come up, continued on its journey, and formed a fractal to the downside. Okay, but you can see here it formed a new fractal, so that's my new stop area. My stop is there. Wait for the next fractal. There's the next fractal. Red line is stop. Move my stop down there, and just keep adding to my position all the time. Okay, right now, what we've seen now is that your stop would have been there, stop would have been there. So in other words, right now you'd be stopped out. Now you're looking for a trend reversal. Okay, so fractals is not voodoo science. Fractal geometry is a, what do you call it? It is a division of, or not a division, but it's a mathematical sector. So yeah, if you search around, you'll see that fractals are very true in nature. They're all over the place, and they are used in mathematics quite extensively. So fractal geometry is something which we are basically using here. It's just it's a pattern that we are trading. Okay, so it's not voodoo science. There's no clear rule. The simple thing to remember is if you've got a charting pattern, use your fractals as your levels. Okay, so you draw your lines in onto your levels. There is my fractal break. Okay, I have a fractal to the downside. So those are the two levels I need to maintain. Okay, so if we stay above this fractal, we're going to start trending up. We get back below, we may go into range, and then we're looking for a break below this fractal to continue the trend to the downside. Okay, diagonals, you join up diagonals on your fractals, and you're going to keep moving them as you do. Okay, so there is what we all know as a falling wedge in a fractal. See, fractal, 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 fractal. So 5 touches in a wedge, they're all fractals. It's a confirmed pattern in my eyes. So it's been a break. I'd like to see a retest of something, either the break or a fractal breakout level or a moving average retest, but I definitely want to see a retest before I get back in to the long side. Okay, now it's also important just to keep your higher time frame fractals in play, because that is the indication of the trend. So what am I saying by that? You've got a bigger fractal break here. It's a fractal break. We've come back. Okay, we're not quite testing this break, but all intents purposes, if I was trading the 4-hour fractals, that would be my short entry and my stop would be up there. Okay, for us little daytime traders, that's a massive stop level, so you don't really want to do it. You look at it on the lower time frames. But again, on the bigger time frame, you can see I am below moving averages. So trend is technically still down. So until I break back above that level, there is potential for either consolidation, in other words range, or alternatively we're going to form a lower fractal, a lower high, and that's going to verify a trend, a longer term trend change. Okay, so I hope that makes sense and I'm not rambling too much, but I strongly suggest you subscribe up to my channel. You'll see every morning we do 3 videos, and I specifically focus on fractals, the Bill Williams alligator theory, and we also focus quite extensively using the awesome oscillator and the Williams percentage R. Okay, so anyway guys, I hope that helps you understand fractals a bit better, and I will catch you in the week. Enjoy your weekend and stay safe. Cheers for now.